Dez's 5 easy tricks on how to get people to not be a guest on their show anymore.
This is the last fucking one I'm doing with you guys.
Hey, do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie?
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Dez, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Delyn.
As a species, we're fundamentally insane.
And joining us again, the podcaster with a degree in terror, Tony.
Hey, how's it going?
And also joining us this evening, the podcaster with 1,000 potions, Mikki.
Are you guys being willfully dense?
Yes.
Okay. Tonight, you will bear witness to another installment of Tony's Tales of Terror, where we will discuss the 2007 movie The Mist, written by Stephen King and directed by Frank Darabont, starring Thomas Jane and Marcia Hayden. As always, this movie will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back and enjoy the podcast, if you dare.
He's already got a name wrong. It's 2 names into the show and you're already wrong.
But you know what? At least Mark Wahlberg hasn't showed up yet, so we're doing all right. Let's keep it going.
Okay.
Say hi to your mom for me.
Absolutely. Okay. So it is now time for Dez's 4-in-1 fun and 1 fake facts, where it will be up to my 3 co-hosts to figure out which fact is total bullshit. Number 1, Stephen King got the idea for the source novel when he was in a Maine market. When he noticed the front window was made of plate glass, he wondered what would happen if a giant insect flew into it. Number 2, during an action scene in the film, a man runs into a wire rotating bookshelf in the grocery store. If you look carefully, you can clearly see all the books on the shelf are written by Stephen King. Okay. Number 3. This is the 3rd film that Frank Darabont has adapted from Stephen King's work. The other 2 are The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. Very different movies. That's probably the fake one. Number 4. Frank Darabont agreed to make the film with Dimension only under the condition that no matter what, they wouldn't change this questionable ending. They agreed, and he turned down a much larger offer to keep his ending. This may have been a mistake because he was offered double the money to change the ending, which I think could have gone towards the practical effects, which were good in this movie. They were just fine. But I mean, you can imagine what they could have done with another $15 million. And number 5, Frank Darabont used Toby Jones, the actor that played Ollie, as inspiration in the creation of the monsters in the film. He was quoted as saying, "That guy's head and face are hauntingly misshaped and weird." Okay. Mikki, which of the 5 facts are fake?
5.
Tony, which of the 5 facts are fake?
Toby Jones is a good actor. So,
Great actor.
Slander his
Great
misshapen
actor.
head.
Great actor.
But it's number 5.
Number 5.
It's number 5, and that guy's head is fucking jacked up, man. Holy
Oh,
shit.
be nice.
But he's great for a Stephen King movie. I mean, the guy is haunting. He's haunting. Okay.
I liked him in the
Jeez.
Marvel movies.
Yeah, he's fine. With a budget of $18 million and a box office gross of $57 million, this movie was considered a moderate success. Not a smash hit, but definitely a moderate success. So, Lynn, will you please give us the synopsis?
Sure. After a powerful storm damages their main home, David Drayton and his young son head into town to gather food and supplies. Soon afterward, a thick fog rolls in and engulfs the town, trapping the Draytons and others inside the grocery store. Terror mounts as deadly creatures reveal themselves outside, but that may be nothing compared to the threat within, where a Christian religious zealot calls for a sacrifice.
She's a douche. Yeah. So, unfortunately, Delyn and I lost a little fur baby this week, and it definitely caused me to have to mail this one in a little bit. I did watch the movie twice in preparation for this, but I didn't do the notes I normally would do because just didn't feel like it. So we do have two experts on the movie on the panel today with Mikki and Tony. So they're going to be full of information, and I will be doing my best Barry Gibb, where I'll say, I agree. So before we get started, let's do some opening thoughts. And so several listeners have written into the show over the last week or so in regards to the Fifth Element episode. So I would like to address the rumors that I sandbagged the Fifth Element score as some sort of retribution for Patton DeLin's not recognizing the comedic masterpiece that is Neighbors and giving it a ridiculously low score. So as listeners, you can be rest assured that I am a professional and I take every score very seriously, and I call these movies the way I see them. And I honestly wish I had given The Fifth Element a perfect 0. Okay. And now, as for my opening thoughts for this movie, The Mist, so this one felt a little bit like an 80s made-for-TV miniseries, like kind of just the way it was shot and presented. With, you get these fade-ins, these fade-outs, you're getting no music, you're getting really no soundtrack. Almost felt like chapters. I mean, would you guys agree? Like little chapters, the way they were fading in and out, like just without the, the supermarket or the escape or, yeah. So it kind of felt like the Langoliers or, one of those type movies. So,
well,
The Stand.
The Stand, it.
Coming off of Green Mile, obviously Green Mile, we all know is one of Stephen King's, he broke it up into several different books. So he's coming off of a novella, kind of like boom, boom, boom. He's got his sections down. At the same time, though, if you read his original intention for the movie, he wanted to make it 1950s monster movie. So on this special edition Blu-ray, it comes with 2 discs. You have the color version, and you actually have a 1950s black and white digitized version of it, which is actually what I watched last night. And it changes the whole feel of the movie in the sense it feels old.
What do you like
because
better?
It's yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say better. I'm going to say different because I'm not a huge fan of the old, the old 1950s, them and the big monster movies, and even Godzilla.
The Blob
I'm not
and
a
stuff
fan.
like that.
Yeah, it's the creature features from the 50s, that your parents would go see for a dime and, stay all day and watch the cartoons between. Like, I'm not a big fan of those, but I could see how he was going for it, and adding the black and white element to it in the way he shot it definitely makes it go along with that. So I think that was his intention for doing it. And he's just like, well, I got to drop that idea because no one goes to see black and white movies anymore.
Well, it's funny. I had actually listened to another review of this, another podcast reviewing this, and these guys all went to college for filmmaking stuff, and they were talking about the black and white version and how they liked it more. They thought that it kind of covered up, the practical effects a little bit and made them look a little spookier. So yeah, they enjoyed that version more. All those guys. So interesting. I wish I had seen it.
I mean, that's the one critique I have to say watching it last night. It's like, man, those tentacles just don't look good.
And that's the only one, Tony. That's the only one. I'm glad you said that because that was the only one to me that kind of felt a little underwhelming. But it's funny because it looks more underwhelming when we're seeing it from far away. But when they actually close up on the back and you can see it kind of flexing and just
the claws
looking
coming out.
Yeah, it actually looks better the closer they get to it. So
and it's funny because what it's almost looks based on is another Stephen King Thomas Jane vehicle, which is Dreamcatcher. You see the creature in Dreamcatcher, it looks really, no one loves that movie.
Yeah.
Except for Mikki.
You do. I apologize for shitting on your movie, but I think it's terrible.
No. You know what it is? I loved the book, not to get off the Mist, but I loved the book, the story Dreamcatcher. And I love Jason Lee.
Oh, me
so
too.
I think that's why I liked it.
Okay, I can understand that.
I mean, as a whole, the movie's kind of crappy, but I love how I don't know. I have such nostalgic about the story, so I love. Timothy Oliphant could have done better too, but I love the shit weasels.
Yeah.
Shit weasels. I haven't seen this one.
It's a trip. It's not one I want to do. Let's put it that
That's
way.
fine.
Do not add it to the list.
Okay,
All
not
right.
on the
So
list.
does anybody else have any opening thoughts they'd like to share before we get started, Mikki?
Well, I mean, watching this again, to me, it's a really heavy movie to me, but I love it. It's not a movie that I watch often, but I love it when I watch it. And there's certain scenes that I love, and to me, this movie is one of those movies where it's not necessarily the things in the mist that are scary. It's how, one of the lines that he said in the movie, really was like, civilized society until you take the machines away. You know what I mean? And then there's no more rules. And it's like, I really like, look what happened with COVID. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people lost their fucking minds with COVID, and we still had technology. We still had so much. And I just think, it's really, someone said, "Oh, do you have any faith in humanity?" I'm like, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Yeah, Mikki,
No,
I'm glad you
movie-
said that. That's the
yeah,
horror
it
in this movie.
scared me. This
That's the
movie
horror.
genuinely terrified me.
Yeah, it's not the monsters.
It's funny because it's the one genre I'm trying to get my son to watch because he wants to watch horror movies so bad. He just can't handle them. He's 11 and he's my son, so he's like, I want to watch movies with you, Dad. I'm like, but you're not there.
Not there
Ready for
yet.
these.
And so it's like we sat down and watched a thing together. He loved it. I mean, he can handle creatures, but I tried to explain. He's like, well, why can't I watch this? It's all monsters. I'm like, it's the human element that's the scary part of this movie.
Right.
It's not the monsters.
No.
The monsters are nothing. When Miss Carmody is screaming expedition and like the mob is going and they stab the soldier. I know we're getting ahead of myself, but it's like that scene is fucking terrifying.
Terrifying.
It is.
How quickly it turns.
They spin on him so fast.
And it's just it's I mean I'm gonna call her because by the Walking Andrea from The Walking Dead.
Right.
Yeah,
She's like
too, yeah.
2 days. It's been 2 days and we've gotten to this. It's like and I'm glad Mikki you brought it up. Like COVID, we saw it. People fighting over fucking toilet paper, people fighting over cases of water, shooting each other in the cities because I want it from and it's just we as a society are fucked. We're genuinely we're terrible creatures.
Yeah.
A note that I made was a lot of these moments with the monsters felt almost like satire, like they were the comedy relief, like when he's beating the little bird with the broomstick, and he's just beating it and beating it and beating it. And I'm laughing, but I needed that after like these scenes where they're like, get the boy, we'll sacrifice the boy, or stabbing the guy, or the guy, who got burnt to shreds, and he's like, he's looking like Anakin Skywalker, like just barbecued. But all of these horrible scenes are all inflicted by human beings, not monsters. So let's get into it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, I was gonna say
when they're like, after the, I know we'll get there, but the scene in the back room, and then they all go out and they crack a Budweiser. It's like, I can see that happening. We have a grocery store 10 minutes from me, and it's called Pixley Sure Fine. And honestly, every time I go there, I think of The Mist because it's like just like the store in The Mist.
Oh shit!
This little, small town grocery store. And you know what I found out off subject? My town, they filmed A Quiet Place in.
Oh, interesting. I like that movie.
Interesting.
We might have to do that one.
Too, the scene when he's like got the dog in the back of the truck and then he walks to the downtown, that's like my town.
Oh,
interesting.
I never knew that until last year.
All right, well, let's get into it. And I had never seen it before.
I have not given my open thoughts.
Dylan, go ahead.
Jeez.
Had you seen this before, the podcast? Dylan?
Me? No.
Yeah, before preparing? Okay,
no,
so
I
we
knew
both came
about
into
it.
this new.
Yeah, I knew about it. I had knew what it was about. I might have even read the book like a million years ago, but I had never sat down and watched the movie. A little bit of what you said earlier is kind of because we were talking about it beforehand, which we often do. And I really felt like this movie suffered from not having some music of some sort. And I said, I get it. It was kind of like to add to the tension, that all that silence, but something, throw me something, a little bit of music here and there. They did throw in like a couple of like when something was happening, but for the most part, there wasn't a ton of music, and there was a lot of whispering at each other.
Exposition.
But like just conversations between people whispering, and I can't hear that shit. I don't know if it's just because I'm old or what, but it's like I either have to use the closed captions or I can't hear it. And it's like that kind of sucks. Like, I don't think I'm deaf yet, but like I definitely was like, I have no idea what anyone just said. So unless I turn it up to 80, and then as soon as like a monster comes crashing in, it blows me out of my chair, I couldn't hear them. I wish that and I get it. They're trying to talk quietly so that like other people can't hear what they're talking about, but there was just too much whispering for my taste. I was like, please just speak so I can hear you, please.
Yeah, a lot of it was long-winded too. Like, it would go on too long for the father to just try to convey I love you to his son. It would be like, all right, 5 minutes of whispering. Just fucking say I love you. We'll say I love you too and we'll move on. The movie was 2 hours and 5 minutes. There was a lot of exposition. A lot of exposition that could have been
Spoken
trimmed
like
down.
a true childless man.
Okay. That's a 5 rewatch comment. I love it. Okay, let's get into this thing.
All right, let's do it. Jesus.
I'm on painkillers, man. I got no fucking filter tonight.
Do it.
Nice.
Hey, you guys have to pay extra for Tony tonight.
Do it, Doug.
Do it, Doug.
I'm pulling out the Kevin Smith. Sorry. A severe thunderstorm strikes Bridgeton, Maine, causing a tree to fall into the lakeside home of artist David Drayton, played by Thomas Jane. David is an artist who works on art for movie posters. He lives in this home with his wife Stephanie and their 8-year-old son Billy, played by Nathan Gamble. While surveying the damage the next morning, they notice a strange thick mist advancing over the lake. Thinking it nothing more than a side effect of the storm, David and Billy leave to go into town with their neighbor Brett Norton, played by Andre Brower, to buy supplies. While a little chaotic because there's no power in the store, things seem mostly normal as David collects his groceries. However, while waiting in the checkout, police cars and fire engines race past. A terrified man, Dan Miller, played by Jeffrey DeMunn, runs into the store and warns of a danger lurking in the midst. As a civil alert siren sounds, store managers Ollie Weeks and Bud Brown close off the supermarket just as the mist envelops the store. One woman, Melissa McBride, who I only mentioned because she went on to become famous on The Walking Dead, leaves to go home to her children despite everyone's pleas to stay put. So, Tony, let's start with you. I thought it was a nice touch that David was working on the Dark Tower poster and had the thing hanging on his wall. That was like a nice little throwback.
Well, Drew Suzanne, who does all of Darabont's movies, he did Green Mile, he did Shawshank, he does. I mean, if you want a good poster, you're going to get Drew Suzanne to do it. Did Star Wars, did a bunch. So, I mean, yeah, working on the Dark Tower, he has the thing. Right there, I'm doing the DiCaprio, oh, there it is, meme in my living room, So love it. Yeah, right off the bat. I'm not a fan of the first 10 minutes of the movie. I understand what they're going for. It's like, all right, here, let's just get to the supermarket. It's like, smash. It's awkward. Going back and watching it this time through, I usually like Thomas Jane. I think he's a decent actor. Decent. He's not a great actor. He fills the roles he's in really well. This was the first time I'm watching it again and going, he's like one of the weakest ones in this movie. He's trying to play the everyman. He's trying to play like all shucks G, but it comes across as he's a pussy, I feel, in the beginning. And obviously later on we see him, step into leadership role. And I think the events, that's when I think he acts Thomas Jane-y, if you want to put it that way. But him trying to be the good husband, the soft-spoken artist, the good dad, the caring neighbor, it's to me, that's when it felt weird. When we meet the asshole next door, instantly hate him. Everybody's roles are very defined in that first 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's kind of a little black and white, honestly,
I see what you did there.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely, you're set up to hate the neighbor immediately. He's kind of like the good guy and the dad. And yeah, you, like you said, you pretty much nailed it. Like, you're pretty much giving your roles right up front. And the wife doesn't have a lot of anything going on. So, I mean, of course this guy's going to care about his wife, but you don't care about her.
No.
So you don't get any chance to know her long enough to care about her. So, Mikki, what did you think?
I agree. I think, I mean, again, I agree with you. I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to give you like a little bit of here's why, there's conflict or whatever between the two of them. And here's why, the kid's going to be scared because his mom's still at home. But I could have, she was non-existent to me because, I think she said like 4 words, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't really care. Even if, they said, oh, my wife's definitely dead. I would have been like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, big
Yeah.
deal. I don't care about her. But I think they could have condensed it a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. They could have even shaved 5 minutes off it and it would have been okay. And, maybe some of the dialogue between Thomas Jane and his neighbor could have been cut down as well, because I think that again, they could have put more guts into less time
Right.
versus more time and not enough guts.
Yeah.
So I have the complete opposite on this as you guys. The first 10 minutes of the movie for me felt like a motion picture. Like, I actually thought DeJanes felt like a leading man. I felt like the movie looked like a motion picture, like a big budget movie. I felt like the way the actors were interacting, the neighbor, it all felt like a movie until we got into the supermarket, which is when it started to feel like a made for TV movie for me. So I really enjoyed the beginning. I liked him in his art studio. I liked the little nods to the Stephen King movies. I just liked it all. I thought it was great.
So when's your review of The Notebook coming there, Sally?
The lake house.
I liked it. I did. I liked this opening a lot. I like this opening a lot.
I just feel I'll
I mean, I thought it was fine when they got to the supermarket. But the point I was going to actually bring it in later, but I kind of wish that they had kept his wife and the other guy's wife in the movie more, and maybe just cut from the supermarket scenes to what was going on at the house, even if only a few cuts, to see what was happening with the other guy, the neighbor and her wife, maybe bonding together.
See, I would agree, but it takes us out of the supermarket because we're supposed to feel the isolation. So I get why they didn't. There is a deleted scene with more of the wife having more dialogue, and it turns out the lawyer's wife actually died beforehand. She was actually dead, I guess, a couple of months before. And there's a deleted scene. He's like, I just want, we never got to tell you, like, I'm really sorry about your wife. He's like, well, I know he's just 2 months out of the diagnosis. We thought we'd have more time. So it adds pity to him, to a character you don't want to feel pity for.
Right.
Because he's such an asshole.
Yeah,
so,
I get the isolation thing.
I get why you did it.
I get the isolation thing, but I just thought it would have been nice to maybe just take a couple of breathers, a couple of steps away from the supermarket and just bring us back to the home, and maybe just have a little subplot going on with maybe the two wives coming together and just kind of seeing what they were going through at the same time. That's all. But
it's funny to touch on, because we're still around that scene when they get to the supermarket. Again, I'll always add these thoughts because it's how I think. It's funny to watch Hollywood deal with parents. All right, you want to be the good dad. I'm going to send you with the guy that I have problems with. Make sure you hold his hand. Make sure you hold his hand. Which was good, because that's what a dad would do with an 8-year-old kid. And it's funny because obviously the neighbor doesn't have kids, because walking through a parking lot, you never leave the kid on the outside. You put the kid on the inside when you hold his hand. And I'm sure it was a stupid overlook thing, but as a dad, I'm like, he's fucking doing that wrong. But to me, that's the shit that I appreciate, is that you're obviously not a dad, because you left the kid on the outside. Your car goes by, it's going to take your kid out.
Yeah, I'm always putting the kid on the outside.
Jesus, honey.
Well, buffer.
Oh, my Lord.
People drive like shit.
I'm sorry. Anytime a siren goes off in a movie, Purge, The Fog, anytime some horn goes off, it's so good. It's like shit's happening. Shit's going down. And it's just such an unnerving sound.
As soon as that siren went off, I was like
I'll tell you, one thing I enjoyed about this, though, was it really made me think of the CERN Collider that's going on right now. And it kind of felt like, what? No? What's it called? I can see her laughing. What's it called?
No, it's called CERN.
Well, then what are you laughing at?
Because you're a crazy person that thinks that monsters are going to come through the CERN Collider.
You're intimidated by my fucking intelligence.
No, I'm
or your
not.
conspiracy theory, whatever, whichever
Yes.
way.
Listen, they're trying to
50-50.
open up, but they're trying to open up a fucking. Okay.
Okay, let's not go there. I don't have my tinfoil hat.
I was gonna say, don't watch the alien invasions. We're on our way. Christ.
It's funny. Tony was sitting with me watching it today, and then like anytime, like Tony said, this Tony, every time a siren like that goes off, you know shit's about to go down. And we were sitting here watching it this afternoon, and my Tony said, "You ever hear that noise? You get your ass home." I was like, okay.
Yeah.
We hear that noise daily. We live behind a quarry, and they fucking shoot dynamite off like once every 2 days, and it goes wah, wah,
Really?
and then the whole house
Yeah,
shakes.
they have to sound an alarm before they set it off because it's like, to let people know what's going on. And then you hear boom and our whole house shakes. And then you hear the alarm again to let you know that that's what that was. So you don't freak out about the big boom.
Yeah,
so
kind of weird.
So it's a good cover if you need to shoot somebody. Wait for the alarm to go off and then just fire the gun. There you go.
Thanks for the idea.
I'm here to help. Conspiracy theories add up after a while,
I feel like a victim.
Oh my God. All right, let's move on. The store's emergency generator is not working properly. Bagger Norm decides he's going to go out there and clear the blockage in the exhaust against David's advice. Jim and Myron egg the kid on, and just as he goes to step outside, he's grabbed by a tentacled creature. David and Ollie attempt to save him despite the tentacles ripping bits of Norm off, and eventually they lose grip of him and he's dragged into the mist. Ollie then gets the door closed again, and David punches Jim in the face for letting the kid be so stupid. Afterwards, they decide to let Brent in on what happened, hoping that he will help them tell the rest of the story and keep everyone calm. However, Brent thinks David is trying to play a prank on him and refuses to believe what he's being told. The store manager, Bud, goes out back and sees the bit of amputated tentacle and realizes there's something really bad out there. They direct people to start stacking dog food and fertilizer bags against the windows to protect them from whatever might be out there. Mrs. Carmody, played by Marcia Gay Harden, a religious fanatic, begins preaching about an impending Armageddon. Most people are ignoring her, though a few have started to believe her. Brent disbelieves everything, including the dangers of the mist, and leaves the store with a small group to seek help. At the same time, a biker wraps a piece of rope around his waist to make an attempt to get a shotgun that's in someone's truck. Brent's group disappears into the mist, never to be seen again, and the only thing we see of the biker later is his bottom half. So, he got chopped.
Nice.
Mikki, I'm not so sure why so many people want to leave the store at this point. I mean, yep, it's scary and all, but I feel like you're relatively safe in there. There's a ton of food. There's basic first aid. Like, so many people seem determined to just march out there into God knows what. It's cuckoo to me.
Yeah, I'm torn. I think the fear in me would make me want to stay, but being with Marcia Gay Harden's character would make me want to leave because she is like, there are people like that. And that's, like, she is so much scarier than anything in that mist. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's so terrifying, and she did that role so well. And I did read that she was really hesitant to play that role because she had never played a bad guy before, and she was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do this. But I don't know. And like when they're in the back room and Norm, gets attacked or whatever, and then he gets dragged away, and they close the thing, and that scene with Thomas Jane, and he's just, he's like kind of doubled over and he's breathing heavy, and you can tell he's almost like in shock, and he's like, I got his fucking blood on me. Like, that's all he can, like, you know what I mean? And like, that was like, I mean, it was a very traumatic scene. And then the other two were like, hey, I didn't mean for that to happen. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I did like when Ollie was saying, they were there, earlier when he said, out front, they were scared, they were doing this, and here they feel like they have some control. They feel like that they, they know
they
machines.
Can fix this thing.
Yeah. And so he's like, so maybe just go a little easy on him. You know what I mean? And it's just, this was so brilliantly done because, I'm going to keep going back to this. Like, this is like any town USA. Like, you know what I mean? I know people like all of those people in the grocery store. So it's just, it's so terrifying to me.
Because you could see it happening at your local store.
Yeah. At the Pixley. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll always go back to it, and I apologize if it gets like broken record, but it's like watching the movie when I first saw it as like a 30-something-year-old and watching it again as a dad. whole, it's just another level of intensity of him leaving his son. No, I'll be right back. He's always got to calm his son down, which is unfortunate. It's a real life thing. Kid's already freaking out because he's scared. Second, he's watching these people like screaming going out the door, and he's got like, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. It's like the anxiety that I had watching that, trying to like, all right, would I be, I'd have to do the same thing with my boys. And it's like Melissa McBride, her Won't Anyone Show a Woman Home? It's like her speech literally made me nauseous of like, my 8-year-old is watching my 4-year-old. Sometimes she forgets she's supposed to be watching him. I have an 11-year-old watching a 13-month-old when I'm just going to the bathroom, and he forgets sometimes. I'm like, that hit so close to home for me. It was just like, oh my God. So it's like, she can't get home. She's got to go. There's no other choice. That's why. So when you said like, why do people so anxious to leave? That would probably be me. I would be the stupid one. I got to get home to my kids. I can't stay here.
Right.
And I would risk it, you know? The scene in the back room, fucking brilliant. The lighting, the shadows, the noises. Because again, I'm watching with headphones, so I have it jacked up, so you're hearing that door being pushed in, and we all know how strong those doors are. So to see it go in and the stretching sound of it is so intense. Like, all right, something big's out there, and just we saw it in COVID. It's like, well, you're an idiot. I'm not believing you. I don't need a mask. I don't need this. I don't need your cleaning products. I don't need this. Like, we saw people just deny the truth that was right in front of them. I'm not going to get into political bullshit. I'm not going to get into all that. Even this movie was a fucking blueprint for 2020. And the two different sides, it was obscene how much I'm going, yeah, there you go. Just missing the red hat. And it's just...
It's not going to get political.
Oh, I'm doing my best. I'm bleeding in my mouth. I'm biting my tongue so hard. But it's just watching him get pulled out, and then the two idiots, the two yokels. Oh, why didn't you say? We didn't know what you said. Why don't you say what you meant? He did tell you what you, but you're too fucking stupid to fucking listen because you're so blindsided with your own pride. And Mikki, you hit the point. That Ollie said. It's like, they only have a small amount of intellectual knowledge of what they can do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Capability. They can handle machinery, but they can't handle social norms. They can't handle something that's outside of the realm of machine make noise. I could fix this. So it's like they sent the kid to the death. And yes, Thomas Jane literally just making animals to go, like that's a humanistic reaction to literally seeing something that's unrealistic. And that's when this is the scene that he went from, oh, this isn't such a good role for him, to, all right, now you're back to Thomas Jane being a great actor.
Right.
Carmody slowly amping up in her religious beliefs during these scenes. Yeah, perfect. Just like Oscar worthy kind of shit. Like, her performance is just on the level of like Toni Collette in Hereditary. It's just it's on another level. Way better than anyone else in this movie. She's like up here and everyone else is down here. She like embodied the role of the religious zealot who got lost and was blinded by her faith and had to spout it off to everybody. And like you said, we know those people. We've seen those people. You take any street corner in New York, you're seeing those people with megaphones,
Yep.
So it's
or
just
Salem at Halloween. I mean,
yeah. It's a frightening, humanistic breakdown of just that 20 minutes that you just described is just such an emotional roller coaster of, well, this is going to be a horror movie, but then it turns into real life. Like, the kids are scared. The kid gets killed. He's losing his mind. You see all the different levels of humanity between literally five characters. Show you both ends of the spectrum. Humanistic understanding, empathy, and completely over the top, black and white, this is the way it's going to be. And when they bring the lawyer and they try to talk to him, again, it's just like, go back and see, and he won't. It's just stubbornness. It's stubbornness to accept the truth. Fauci doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, I guess not. So it's just,
he's full of pride, really. It's like he's just got too much pride to think that these guys know something that he doesn't, and they obviously are trying to trick him. And it's like, Why don't
So
you say to them, hey, give me a little proof, and because they would have taken him out back, and he was like, I'm not coming back to look at your proof so you can
And
laugh at me. And it
and
was
he's a
like,
lawyer.
yeah,
He's a lawyer who physical evidence should be your definitive
yeah,
point, and he
Yeah.
refused to accept it. So that makes you look at, like, no wonder David Drayton had a problem with him. Thank God he won his lawsuit against him that they talk about. It's like, because he doesn't accept real life facts. They
right.
show that in that 30-second scene of him. Oh yeah, rubber tentacles, but yeah, wrong. Yeah, it's just all bullshit, y'all. It's like, come on. It's like, oh, people like that, you just can't talk to them. You can't
I
reason
know.
with them, and it's just.
And you,
Mm.
it's so it because you have, and then you have both sides of the spectrum. You can't reason with the normally, very intelligent attorney type, and then you also can't reason with the insane religious freak. Like, you can't reason with any of the people in the store except for, like, Ollie. Like,
Ollie, fucking Ollie.
yeah,
Ollie's got the
Yeah.
best head on his shoulders, but
so
ching.
this
Uh,
this scenario reminded me of a couple of different movies. It reminded me of Mickey. You turned me on to Black Summer, so it reminded me of when they're holed up in the diner. And
yeah,
I'm like, if everybody would just be quiet and keep the shades down, you've got lots of food, you've got lots of water, you can ride this thing out. I mean, I know the mass was coming, but kind of reminded me of that. And it also kind of reminded me of the Night of the Living Dead, the one that took place in the mall.
yep.
Dawn of
Like,
the Dead. Yeah.
like they're good. Like, if you just play your cards right, you're good for
Mhm.
years. Like, you can ride the apocalypse out if you just don't open the fucking door.
Yeah.
Right. So this kind of had that same feel to me where, like, if these people had kind of maybe just come together as a group and just played it smart, they obviously could have rode this thing out and probably been saved by the military. But what you guys just said was the whole charm of this movie is how polar opposites all these people are, and they just can't come together. They just can't. And that is the horror of this movie. And that
Yeah.
is the charm of this movie. And for me, I'm hanging out in that back room. That's where I'm choosing to ride this thing out, in
Yeah.
that back room. And I had a lot of fun every time a monster was on the screen. I thought when the monsters were on the screen, I was having fun, and I thought the monsters looked great. And I also thought there was a lot of really smart exposition delivered very well in this movie. And that's why when I say there was a lot of exposition that was kind of hard to understand and maybe a little long-winded, I wished that if they could have trimmed that down so these spots between this great exposition and these fun moments of monsters and then these really shocking moments of human on human abuse were a little closer together to just keep me engaged 100% for the entire movie. So yeah, I mean, again, it was great. It was fine. But that would be my one knock, is that maybe just condense everything a little bit more to keep it moving along. But yeah, I was engaged up to this point. I thought it was a lot of fun.
All right. So moving on, David forms connections with several people in the store, including Amanda Dunphy, played by Laurie Holden, also of Walking Dead fame, and Irene Repler, Frances Sternhagen, two teachers who came into conflict with Carmody over her religious take on the ongoing disaster. Amanda carries a revolver in her purse, and she gives it to Ollie, who is a former regional shooting champion. As night falls, enormous flying insects swarm to the store windows, attracted to the lights. While these insects seem to be about the size of a medium dog or so, they're unnerving. They seem relatively harmless until a large pterodactyl-like creature swoops down and starts eating them off the glass. And each time it does this, the glass cracks more until it finally gives way. The predators and oversized locust-type things now get inside the store. Panic erupts and two people are killed while another is burned terribly while attempting to incinerate the insects. Meanwhile, Cara Moody has an insect land on her and she surrenders to God's will when the insect flies off instead of biting her. She's now more convinced she's doing God's work and now is convincing others because of that incident. So, Des, like you kind of were saying, this scene is a lot of action, and I welcomed it after a bunch of talking and honestly, people whispering. So I could barely hear what was being said. So I was glad for some noise.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of that. We didn't get a lot of the long-winded exposition at the beginning of the movie. I found it was more like in the dead middle of the movie that we were getting a lot of that, because the movie is moving along quickly at this point for me. And Tony, did you feel like this was borrowing a little bit, just in theory, kind of from 12 Angry Men, the movie where you get these 12 men in one room for almost an entire movie, and that's where the drama is built through all the exposition and the polar opposites of the characters.
I mean, every one location film always refers back to that,
Right.
which is a genius movie. It's why it's honestly outside of any horror that and honestly before that was Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, which literally all takes place in one single room.
Right.
If you've ever seen it,
I've seen 12 Angry Man, not Rope.
Rope is literally two men who decide to kill their friend just to see if they can, and they hide him in a trunk and then cover it with a blanket in the middle of a room, and then have a party to see if they can get away with it.
Oh shit!
So you literally know there's this body in the middle of the room while you're watching these dozens of people come in and out, and that's the whole scene. That's literally the whole movie. So
Wow.
I mean, any one location draws back to those two. So I mean, it's hard to not compare it to that, but this is a whole other thing. I mean, the action scene. I hear what you're saying, Dylan. It was definitely needed. I felt it actually felt out of place. I felt it was too chaotic in the sense that they tried to make too much chaos happen at the same time. Now, granted, it seemed like they went from maybe like 40 people in the front of the store when everyone was talking to all of a sudden there's like 80 people running everywhere. It seemed like there's a lot more people once the chaos started happening.
Right.
You know, people are on fire and again, listening with headphones, I'm hearing things I didn't hear just through my regular speakers. Like literally in the downtime after the creature's dead and everything happened, the guy who's on fire literally is whimpering the entire time. It hurts so much. It hurts so much. I can't. And he's begging. It's like that made it just like, oh, gut wrenching.
Yeah.
While everyone is just trying to catch their breath and figure out what to do next, there's this guy just like moaning. It's like awful. The creatures here, yes, very Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, so Tony, so it's almost like that's why I was saying like this scene almost felt like satire for me because there was so much going on, right? Like so much going on everywhere you look on the screen. Someone's falling down, someone's knocking over fire buckets, someone's whacking a fucking skeeter bug off the ceiling and then beating it uncontrollably while it's burning. And I'm laughing and I'm having fun with it. I think it's really great. Can you imagine if they'd taken all the monsters out, right? And let the mist be more mysterious. People die. We see them coming in bloody. We don't know what's out there. And the whole thing is just all about people turning on each other and eventually stabbing and murdering each other. You take these monsters out. The monsters almost felt like comic relief to me, but it was good.
See, I think it was just the design because, I mean, when I read the book when it first came out, it's like it described them, but I didn't picture them as goofy as they looked.
Yeah.
That pterodactyl thing just looks goofy to me.
But
The bugs, the
But
spiders, when we get to them, spiders were fucking terrifying. Love the spiders.
Spiders were terrible.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
they're
were.
so scary.
Whatever the big thing that comes out, the big claw
Yeah.
thing,
And it had
don't
that face. It was like, "Rah!" I was like,
Yeah,
oh
I mean,
no.
I mean, don't even get me started on the thing at the end that rumbles by them. That's
Right.
We'll get to that when we get to it. But the pterodactyl part, like I said, it's just the design was so bad on it. I feel that took me like out of the like. All right, I understand. I know why they had to do it. This is the scary part I'm supposed to be scared at, but it's like, oh, it's like it's so badly done.
So do you think this movie is scarier without the monsters?
No, you need the monsters. You need to show what the danger is. Otherwise, I would be angry if we never saw a monster in this. And it was only insinuated auditory wise. This is a movie that can't get away with with a Jaws factor. What you don't see is scarier than what you see.
Gotcha.
This one I think needed to. Unlike, Mikki touched on before, A Quiet Place. We didn't see those monsters fully till the third act.
Yeah.
And we saw flashes of them, we saw shadows of them. But when we saw them, that's like, holy shit, because they had time to perfect that monster. There was only one time monster. This one, they needed the flying ones, they needed pterodactyls, they needed lizards. It was like King wrote a bunch of different ones. They had to kind of find a way to adapt them. What's going to get in?
I would say it stuck to the good ones, the spiders, and maybe like the millipede.
Yeah, I mean that's what was supposed to crawl through. Is a big centipede was supposed to crawl through. It wasn't supposed to be the flying ones. At least that's what the
flying ones
said.
were the ones that were goofy.
Yeah, but again, watching that scene, it establishes who's going to jump into action, who's going to be an idiot. The two idiots that we already knew are idiots, turning all the lights on, attracting them more. not
That's what I
listening.
was wondering. I'm like, he's telling them to shut the lights off, and they're running around turning the lights on. It's like, what? Ugh.
Yeah.
He said earlier in the movie, the only way we want these on, because they only last 15 minutes, is if something gets in here. So they heard something comes in. We're going to do our job. They didn't pay attention to the second half of the sentence.
Right.
Yeah.
Was they're attracted to the light, shut the lights off. Well, we got to turn the lights on because something's in here. You know,
Right.
you got Carmody, who became empowered because of it. You got Drayton, who almost lost his kid again. You
And then
got
the
the
girl.
teachers. Yeah, the girl
young
who
girl.
was just the cashier got
Yeah.
stung. So that established the danger of these things.
What a
Show what the
suck
result
way to
of getting
die.
attacked by it is.
Right.
You know, the soldier was inconsequential. Showed how useless the authority figures were.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it came down to, you know, the everyday man has to step up. Drayton, Ollie being a wicked badass, which again, oh yeah, I came in first, and the manager's like, you know how to shoot? It's like, yeah, he did. And that was an awesome like little revelation.
I liked Ollie a lot. I thought the performance was really good, and he was creepy. Mickey, what'd you think of the scene?
That, again, you know, that scene, it was just pure chaos. And, you know, like the first thing I thought of when that first bug hit was turn the fucking lights off. Like that's the first thing I thought of. And then they were actually kind of cute though. Their little faces had like,
Yeah, fuck
cute.
yeah, they were.
But,
Little
I don't know if I'd
eyeballs.
call them cute.
Yeah, the little eyeballs when it's coming up, when it's calling up the preacher lady. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
little buddy.
But like, you know, again, when, you know, they're like, when Drayton's like, turn all the lights off, everybody turn the lights off, they're attracted to the light, and, you know, Ding and Dong are going around turning the lights on, and I'm just like, you know what I mean? Stop doing that. And just, you know, and then it was such a great scene to just show like how quickly people freak the fuck out too. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Granted, it's not a little thing, but one little thing happens and everybody just goes apeshit, and they forget like all, you know, all sense of either, you know, not even decorum, but just like they panic, they freak out. And so that's terrifying, you know, and I know I keep saying it, but this movie just scares the hell out of me for that reason. The monsters don't scare me at all in this movie, except for the spiders. It's just terrifying.
Right.
It's funny because I'm sorry, go ahead, Dawn.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually thought that, you know, you're in this supermarket and there are all these metal shelves and stuff. And I couldn't understand why, instead of using like the fertilizer and dog food bags, why they didn't take stuff off the shelving and put the shelving up against the windows. It's like, you got to block the freaking windows. Like
all they need to do is
you're still leaving like 2 feet of window up at the top. It's crazy.
They just need to put some like curtain stuff up. That's all. Just put some coverage up so they can't see you in there. Dude, you guys see how burnt the soldier was? How burnt his head was?
Yeah.
They're like, we need to get some Bactine and some Tylenol. It's like, that dude needs 9 months in a fucking burn unit.
It's true. The poor bastard. He really got it.
And it's funny because before I sat down to watch this, again, going back to I'm trying to introduce my son to horror. He wants to watch The Walking Dead. Darabont, same cast, same everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we're only up to like episode 5 of the first season. So again, I'm trying to explain to him, it's not the zombies that are scary, buddy. It's the humans in this show, which is the same theme as The Walking Dead. So we get to the part where the first major zombie attack happened at the RV. And it was the first time we saw the people that we cared about die. And he was like, why does this happen? You know, he's like, he was trying to understand it. And just the chaos of that scene, everybody's running around shooting, the walkers are walking all over the place. It was literally could have been pulled out of the mist. Like, it's amazing that Darabont's like, all right, I could do this, I could do this. It was the same chaos of people just shooting and running. Are you human? Are you a walker? Are you, you know, it's like there was no sense of, even though we've talked about this is what we're going to do if it happens, people just don't remember. People just instinct, fight or flight. And unfortunately, usually when the fight happens, it's spastic. You know, it's just, humans are the worst.
Yeah. The fact that it took Amanda like 20 minutes to light a lighter, I'm like, girl, please. Like, come on. Like, and that, to me, that's a trope that I really like. Unless you're in Grease 2, that doesn't work. Get out of here. Those matches from the liquor store. Other than that.
Oh, I hate those matches.
All right, roll on.
Okay. You busted me because I did Grease 2. Good
I
Lord.
appreciate the Grease too.
Me too.
Don't make me break into Cool Rider, man.
It just might happen. Anyways, a small group led by David goes to the neighboring pharmacy in search of medical supplies. There they get their supplies, but at a huge cost as they find a giant spider-like creature that has laid eggs in live humans and shoots acid webs. 2 men are killed and they retreat to the grocery store. Carmody, who has opposed the expedition, uses this failure to increase her influence by offering protection from divine wrath to her new converts. And Tony, I'm going to pause for a moment here because this scene is pretty cool. And to me, it was the scariest scene. And it also was one of those scenes where I kept doing they're like, okay, we need to get out of here. And then everyone's like, and just sitting there. And I'm like, they keep saying we need to get out of here. And then they don't. And that makes me crazy. But, the MP full of baby spiders, the acid webs, the CG creatures back in the supermarket were a little silly, but these were really scary to me.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so well done. That guy, I'm sorry, and then falls and his whole back explodes. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. And just everybody's reacting like, because everybody hates spiders, and that's the creep show. Too many bugs.
Mhm.
And the web being acid web, like that's fucking genius. It's
Yeah.
like,
It was fun.
all right, they're spiders. We can hit them with a bat. We can hit with an axe. Oh, they're shooting shit. It goes through my jeans, goes through my leg, and kills me within seconds. A whole new level of danger they just experienced. Not only that, but they're just terrifying looking.
Oh, yeah.
I love when Ollie runs over the little spiders. You get the crunch.
Crunch.
So good.
Yeah. But it is the only scene that, all right, we can't open a door because something will get in. We can't go into the parking lot to get the guns because something will get us. But we're going to open the door just to go further. Because I'm sorry, I looked at where that door was compared to the supermarket, and it was further than their cars were. So I'm like, it always bothers me of that logic. Well, we need it or he's going to be dead. You know what? I'm sorry, you got to go. I'm not. And trying to justify it to his kid, it comes again. I don't want you to go, Dad. I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go. No, sorry, I still got to go. You're a shitty parent now. Now you're just a dick. It's like,
Why were they
stay
going
with
to
your
the-
kid.
Why were they going to the pharmacy again?
They were going to get the
stuff for the
silver
burnt guy.
stuff to get the
Yeah,
painkiller.
painkillers and
That guy
antibiotics.
was done. They should have just shot him. He was begging to be
But
shot.
when they come back, he's already dead, right?
Yeah.
He's dead anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So he died
was
anyway. So
done.
that whole trip was for nothing.
Well, because his brother was there and said, "I'm going whether you come with me or not."
Right.
Yeah, and his
So it's
brother
like, all
ended
right,
up dying.
Yeah, he's the one that got
Yeah.
the
I've got
spider
an
web.
alcohol swab. This might sting a little bit.
I feel like, I don't know, like I like to think about like, well, I don't like to think about it, but I did think about it. Like if I was in that, like if I was in that situation, what would I have gone to try to help the person, or would I said, fuck it, I'm looking out for number one? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mikki, let me tell you what Delynn said as we were watching the movie, because we actually watched it together. She goes, why don't they just take him and throw him outside so the monsters can eat him? I went, are you fucking kidding me?
Wow.
He's already barbecued.
She goes, I wouldn't waste a bullet. She goes, I wouldn't waste a bullet. I'm like, this guy is suffering with
That's a fucking
major
Nazi
burns.
statement right there.
Oh,
Jesus
God,
Christ.
don't call me a Nazi.
Tony, it was fucked up. When she said it, I was
Use your boot heel, Commander.
Because she said it so matter of fact. She's like, why don't they just throw him outside with the monsters to eat him? I'm like,
no offense, but like she has a good point. Like,
she
I
doesn't.
don't know what I don't know.
I'm not hanging out with you fuckers at all. I'm not hanging out anywhere. Hey, Tony, you want to go to a show with me? No. If something happens, I'm the first one you're going to eat. We get trapped somewhere, eat the fat guy. I got you.
Tony twisted his ankle. Let's kill him.
Right? Well, we can't drag him. He's too heavy to carry. We might as well just cut him up.
Him with a fucking brick.
But
what's wrong with you people?
I just like, I don't know.
Because
Like,
he was already dead. Look at him. He was dead. He was dying.
When he's already dead, yes, I will give you that.
He was suffering. Put a bullet in my head. Put me out of my misery.
Right.
Oh, we could drag you outside
That
and
I
let the
probably
monster
would have
eat you.
done.
Yeah, no, Delynn didn't want to waste a bullet. Let the monsters eat him.
Oh, that resigned. Jesus Christ.
Although
She was serious.
I do see her point.
The worst.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
keep going.
Well,
they went to the friggin' pharmacy. They get the stupid antibiotics, and the dude's dead already. And now you get 2 more dead dudes. It was like
You got 2 dead brothers.
stupid. Yeah, so stupid. It's like just throw the dude out there and let everybody else live.
Oh God. Okay.
Christ.
Shit.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have like, I don't know, not NASA. What's the word I'm looking for? What's like NATO? Come looking for me for my war crimes. Sorry.
Oh, God. Okay.
Well, let
The
Z
next-
babies die.
They should have thrown out. They should have thrown. What's her name out?
Carmody. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would have thrown her out there too.
Yeah.
See ya. Anyways, the next day, David wants some answers from the military guys in the store. The MP said things about the military being involved with what was happening before his chest burst with baby spiders. So David and company go in search of the army guys to ask them what they know. They can only find one of them, Jessup, played by Sam Witwer. Whitwer, that's a tough one. They go in search of
Sexiest
the other
lips in
two.
the movie.
I do not like the way he looks. He
His
annoys
face
me.
was like,
His beautiful mouth.
yeah, it was very.
He annoys me. I literally didn't
moist
watch
and
that
red.
vampire show with him on it because he annoyed me.
Is he the
Whatever it
guy with the
was.
huge divot in his chin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
he annoys me too.
Yes.
He shoots
His
me up a
face
little bit.
annoys me.
He reminded me of the guy from An Officer and a Gentleman, not Richard Gere, but the guy that hangs himself in the shower, like a made-up
Keith
version.
David. Keith David, yeah.
Yes, like a cheap version.
Oh,
Okay,
goodness.
keep
The
going.
Wish version.
So they go in search of the other two. They go in search of the other two army guys and found that they've hung themselves in the back room. Jessup reveals that a government project to discover other dimensions was underway at the base and that scientists accidentally opened a doorway into the creature's habitat. Jim overhears and grabs Jessup, throwing him into the middle of the religious zealots and forces him to tell them what he knows. Angered and vengeful, Carmody followers offer Jessup up as a sacrifice and pick him up and carry him out of the market. A large praying mantis-like creature is not far, and he grabs Jessup up just as everyone inside is watching on. Carmody says that the creature will not attack them more that night because of the sacrifice. Gross.
I
Mickey,
have a
you know what?
problem.
Yeah, well, hold on. Mickey, I've been wondering why these average everyday people are risking their lives while you got 3 military guys just hanging back and drinking soda through this whole thing. And I guess this answers my question, but you have to wonder if they had taken control of this situation right from the get-go and was honest with the group, they could have avoided this whole mess. They could have kept everybody like in, behaving themselves and not let this crazy, lady get a religious cult going in the middle of the grocery section,
I think maybe possibly, but I also think that A, they were afraid, and B, even if they were honest with everyone, they may have gotten lynched anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Fuck you, you knew about this and you let it happen. Why didn't you come warn us ahead of time? Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Instead of just coming in and saying,
I
hey,
also don't know
by
why
the
they
way-
weren't armed. Don't military people just carry a firearm?
Well, they were
They were
supposed
getting
to be
ready
going
for leave.
away.
They were getting ready for
They were
leave.
trying to get to leave. They had a
Yeah.
Oh,
away from
okay.
getting off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a problem with the scene because Jessup is probably he's young, he's strong, he's buff, he's been trained in hand-to-hand combat. He's a soldier. And we saw how quickly the two hillbillies folded when our leading man punched him in the face in the back room after the stock boy gets it.
Right. Norm.
He was backing him down, but then finally he punches him in the mouth and he crumbles. And his friend doesn't jump in. There's no 2-on-1 fight in that back room. They folded. If in real life, this soldier, as soon as he realizes he's in danger, he's at least taken 2 or 3 of them out he could fight hard. He didn't fight at all.
See, but at the same time, they set it up with the teacher looks at him and is like, you've always been an underachiever. You and your sister are both underachievers in my class. So she remembers him. He was a loser.
Yeah.
He's not a stand-up guy. Why didn't I ever ask you out to date? It's like, I don't know, I guess I was afraid. Every scene with him set him up as the spineless,
Right.
not action-fueled guy.
I
True.
take that.
He was the one that's like, well, I don't know where they are. He just crumbled. After the girl died, he just became a little hermit. So
Right.
he went and pouted in the corner with his little lips, and just ended his little bitch.
I just felt like he would have fought for his life a little bit, even something.
But you don't think it seriously. You're surrounded like that. Yeah, you might feel like things are amping up. You don't think it's going to turn that way.
Right.
That's why this to me is the most scary scene of the entire movie. When that butcher stabs him,
But did he
Yes.
stab him?
you really don't see it coming.
But was the
You're like,
first
there's no
stab
way.
a
It's like-
stab, or did he
Oh, yeah.
fall into him?
Oh no! It's
Oh, no, he
it's a
stabbed him.
stab.
It looked like
He
he
looks
stabbed
him
him
directly in the
times.
eyes.
Well, no, he definitely stabbed them the second and third time and fourth time. But the first one, it looked like the group pushed him into the butcher and the butcher was holding a knife. Like it looked like it was unintentional the first
No,
one.
No.
it's intentional.
Okay.
That was totally intentional.
You can't
And
have
so-
an accidental first stab and then 3 more stabs are on purpose. Like that
Okay.
doesn't happen.
Okay. Well, I thought it was like, fuck it. We already got this thing going. So
No.
And just the thing that was they set up perfectly in the movie with the story is that she was right. Every event she had, like they'll leave us alone tonight. It's like
Yep.
she was right. They did. It's
Yeah.
like so the part of it is how much of it was her being a prophet.
yeah.
That's
And how?
part of the scary thing that everyone's always like, oh, she was just crazy. She was just crazy religious zealot. But when you stop and start to look at it from her point of view, she was right about the creatures coming in. She was right about the fact that once blood was spilled, it happened. And they needed a sacrifice. They gave him a sacrifice. It didn't affect them the next night. She was right.
And
Yeah,
they
'cause
didn't
the
touch
bug was
her either.
full. Because the bug
And they
was
didn't
full.
touch her. So it's like,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, like, was she right?
Yeah.
And that's
was
something
she-
you don't want to think about. Are these crazy people on the street corners? Do they have a hotline? You know, they have a direct line to God. And there might be one of them out there that's right. I mean, that's always the round table dinner talk discussion between the stoners. It's like, dude, if Jesus came back nowadays, who's really going to believe him? Who's going to believe the hippie who just wants to make 12 guys go talk like religion with him? Like, no one's going to believe that.
Right.
But
Right.
it could happen. And
Right.
when you think about that, it's like, it's terrifying. Like, we would probably lynch the second coming of Christ if it happened, because we're so used to so many quote crazies that we
Mhm.
just dismiss it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you
And so, I
make a
mean,
good
that
point.
adds a whole other level to that part of the movie, taking yourself out of it if you can.
Right.
Well, and it's funny too because Stephen King even said like he was actually terrified of the adaptation that Frank Darabont did of his story. Like he said this legitimately scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did a great job.
Yeah.
All
I kind of
right.
just wish they had come up with something a little different in the mist, like just something else in the mist that was a little bit more visually scary for me. It would have added another layer of fear to this movie. The bugs, like I said, were kind of like almost like a little comedy relief from these really, really dark, like Sacrifice the Child. Like these
I
are
think they wanted the
dark.
people to be scarier than the creature. Like I
And
think
it
they wanted
worked.
And
yeah.
it worked. They were. They absolutely were. Yeah. Okay.
Because, I mean, that's part of the scary part of the warehouse scene is that what were those tentacles even attached to?
Right.
Right.
We never saw anything else have tentacles, so we didn't see that creature.
Yeah.
We didn't mention how it was taking bites out of that kid too, and that was looking
Yeah.
pretty good. I
That was
liked
pretty
those bites.
gnarly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was gnarly,
It was like an
100%.
explosion of blood.
It
wasn't
Yeah,
just
like-
it was
The blood was a little
juicy.
bright red for my taste. I like a little darkness in that blood, but it was still
Oh.
pretty good.
No, that was
Well-
rare. I like my murders rare.
It just honestly like that's one of the few things because like when it just like when you see creatures like hurting people or stuff in movies like that just looked like it fucking hurt.
It
You know what I
did.
mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It was literally biting off chunks of him, shirt and all. Like just
But what I liked was the bites didn't look lethal. They looked like top, like you know what I mean? Like it looked like
Filleted,
yes.
yeah, like filleting him, like he was living, no problem. Like when he was
Right.
dragged out, he was still fine.
And
He
that's why
wasn't
I'm like it looks like
Yeah.
it hurts so bad.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe some Bacitracin and Excedrin would have helped him.
Mm.
Like they might have saved him. But Captain
Well, I think-
Barbecue, there was no coming back.
But then you wonder what's in those tentacles. They cut one off and it turned black after you touch it. It's like,
yeah,
what
it could be
infection
full
would-
of stuff.
I would actually like to see someone survive an attack,
Yeah,
and then what would have happened. I mean, we
Right.
saw what the sting did to the girl. Blew
Yeah.
her face up and started leaking yellow fluid. I mean,
that
that's
was sick.
pretty awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Good.
All right. So David and his group have decided they need to get out of Religious Nut Central. Ollie puts some groceries together and hides them, but when David goes to retrieve them, they're gone. Carmody is sitting with them nearby holding a knife. She says they aren't going to be leaving and then decides it's time to sacrifice David's son Billy to the creatures. And when David and his group fight back, she also calls for the whore Amanda to be thrown out with them. As the crowd descends on Amanda and Billy, Ollie shoots and kills Carmody. The traumatized survivors then allow the group to leave. As the group makes its way through the parking lot, Ollie is devoured by the praying mantis-like creature, dropping the gun for David to pick up. 2 others are killed by the spider creatures from the pharmacy. Bud runs back to the store and is led inside. David, Billy, Dan, Amanda, and Irene reach David's truck and leave. So, Des, I say that Bud's days before he's chosen as the next sacrifice are already numbered.
Yeah, this is now officially a cult at this point, and she is like a cult leader. She has now got everybody under her spell. You know, when she's sitting there with the knife, I mean, she's powerless physically against this guy. If he wants to, he's just going to punch her in the face and walk out the door. But when the camera pans behind him, you see the butcher with the knife.
Mhm.
You see, so she has now got them under her spell. She's like David Koresh at this point, and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. And I was just like, oh, when Ollie fucking finally puts her down with the shot in his stomach and then the shot in the head, I was like, fuck yeah. It was satisfying. It was satisfying. So they did a very good job of making me want to see her get hers, and she did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey, how do you feel about it?
That Dylan was saying earlier, like, it was such a quiet movie. There was like no music. So when they play The Dead Can Dance, like the hostess Seraphim, like that, even today I said to my husband, I said, that is the perfect song for this whole scene, because it's so haunting and it's like really the only music you hear. And so I think maybe that's why
it's the only song. Is it the only song ever in the movie? I don't think there's much more music other than maybe a little bit of orchestral stuff.
But I'm wondering, like, maybe that's why, because it's such a haunting song that maybe they wanted to just, like,
save it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Tony, how about you?
Jesus, where do you even start? Carmody drinking milk. One of the most
my God.
innocent.
And it's 2 days old milk.
It's in the glass bottle. It's like nothing says more small town than a glass bottle of milk. It's like that's an underlying message of how small we're supposed to realize this community is. And her sitting there with just a knife over her head, like casually, she knows, like you said, she knows she's in power. She knows she's the head of the snake. She's going to do what she's going to do. She orders them. Everybody jumps into action. As soon as she's dead, everybody crumbles. Again, just like society. As soon as one person gets taken out, the person who's like, blah, 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 the loudest person is almost always the least intelligent. And as soon as they're taken out, everybody falls in line with who's the next one, or just falls into inaction. And that's what happened. The fact that Ollie kept apologizing for shooting her, again, a great testament to what a great character he is. He had to do what he had to do, but he's still racked with guilt over having to shoot another person.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about it.
No.
Yeah, but they're ready to take a child. I mean, you did what you had to do.
Oh, no, and that's why, like, he's like, that's why I said thank you. It's like he knows. But again, just layers of character writing and great performances. It shows he's not lost his humanity yet. In the middle of this chaos, the middle of this insanity, he's still holding on to the humanity that he has, and literally is begging for forgiveness for shooting the evil. Like that to me is a small statement, huge impact. I hate that Ollie dies the way he dies. He gets there first. He opens the doors. Everybody's safe. He's like, "Come on, everybody!" And he turns around and boom, clipped in half.
Yeah, it was
this
sad.
thing we never even see. It's like, oh fuck, poor Ollie. But
He's
again,
a hero.
He died a hero, and I get it. And just the fact that the fact that what's his name gets away and goes back. He's let back in. The manager Bud is let back in. That watching the lights drive away and going across the faces of everybody in the supermarket, again, great shot. Because it shows that you were wrong, they can do it. And just, it was I'm failing on finding the words, but just the way that it showed everybody like they're lost now.
Yeah.
There's no aim. Like, we lost our leader, we lost the hope, we lost the logic. They're literally just stuck in a supermarket.
Yep.
Yeah. And the thing is like, if you had just let those people leave instead of starting a fight with them, Carmody would still be alive, and not that that would have been a good thing for anybody really, but they were happy with her and they liked her. So, you lost your leader.
these people were their sacrificial lambs going
Yes.
forward. They knew that. They did not want them leaving because they were going to start sacrificing them night by night.
Right.
The one thing we didn't talk about yet, which I thought was really interesting, is we had the two yokels, and one of them went one way, one went the other way, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
I would have thought, because it shows that it just doesn't come down to location. It doesn't come down to environment, or however we're gonna. It's basically, it comes down to a person. Because you can't just generalize these two hometown boys, both of them raised like idiots, both of them same school, both of them never did anything with their life. One chose right, one chose wrong.
Right.
I thought that was a great dichotomy of the stereotypical idiot characters.
Yeah.
One had complete clarity, and the other one snapped and went zealot.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we definitely should acknowledge, is that was a great way to show what, and I'm going to be all stupid and sound like I'm being cooler than I am, what trauma can do to somebody. Literally, it's how you handle a stressful situation and how you come out of it. You know, obviously
Absolutely.
one could process it and one couldn't.
But what was fun about the point made about the woman being right on all the calls she made, maybe just, you said one chose right, one chose wrong. I mean, I see it more one chose left and one chose right, because that lady was kind of guiding them the direction they needed to go. Maybe that little kid needed to be fucking filleted for the bugs.
Oh. Yeah.
Again,
and you're talking about me? You're talking about me being a monster? And he's talking about throwing a kid out to the bugs.
I'm joking.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Dylan, we're moving on.
Yes, we are. We're going to wrap it on up. All right. Driving slowly through the mist, David finds his home destroyed and Stephanie dead. Devastated, he drives away from town, passing a colossal multi-legged beast and eventually running out of gas. With no means of escaping the mist, the adults decide to end their lives. Aiding their suicide, David shoots Billy and the other 3 survivors with his 4 remaining bullets before leaving the car to be taken by the creatures. Instead, the mist suddenly dissipates, revealing the vanguard of a U.S. Army armored column beginning the process of exterminating the creatures and restoring order. David, seeing that the army also has rescued survivors, including the woman who left the store to go get her children, realizes that he killed his son and fellow survivors as they were just moments away from rescue. He drops to his knees, screaming in despair. And I can't sugarcoat this. I hate this ending. So
I hate this ending.
I hate it. I'm sure there are many people who love it, but I just hate it. It was too much for me.
Listen, they're driving by cars with people that have been killed in transit. There's keys, there's gas, there's options. Listen, we're almost out of gas. We're going to pull up real close to this car. We're going to move on to the next car. We're going to move on to the next car. It's going to get us another 50 miles. Worst case scenario. They're sitting in the car, the 4 of them. And I also hated how it pans onto each one of their faces, minus the kid, and they're all thinking the same thing. Hey, maybe you should take that gun out and blow all our heads off. We've been out of the supermarket for 2 hours. There's no bugs in the car. The windows are up. We're generally safe. I mean, at this instant, there's no immediate danger right now in the car. Maybe we all just stay quiet, scooch down in our seats, and we just let's give it 5 minutes. Let's just give it 5 minutes before we start shooting. Okay? No, they're all like, well, I mean, I think the guy actually says, quote, well, we did the best we could. Me first. It's like, get the fuck out of here. No fucking way. Mikki, you're in the car with your 2 dogs and Tony, and you've run out of gas. What are you gonna think? Listen, before I kill everybody in the car, maybe I'm just gonna go out and try and see if I can find some gas and bring it back. Here's the gun. If they get in the car, start shooting. I'm not killing your fucking kid at that moment. It's not time.
No, I mean, me personally, I probably wouldn't, but I think that first of all, I like the ending because it was like a sucker punch to the gut, and it's one of those movies that you don't walk away going, oh, what a good movie. You know what I mean? But you're like, fuck. But I think they wanted to show how just hopeless, they just felt hopeless. And I'm not, would I do that? I don't know.
But it wasn't hopeless yet. They weren't hopeless yet.
They thought they were.
So to punch me in the gut here, to make me feel the pain here, The monster has to have the child by like the arm eating his hand, and the kid is saying to the father, "Father, help me, please." And then the father realizes, my son is suffering. I have to kill him now to put him out of his misery. Okay, I'm crying. I get it. But the kid is like being held by the woman. He's safe. They're all safe. And the guy's just going to blow his son's head off for no reason. 2
I
minutes
think he's
before the
also like,
army
oh, and my
comes.
wife
All
is
right.
dead and she's cocooned. You know what I mean? I think
Thank you.
That,
Thank you.
yes.
yeah.
Yes,
We-
that does play in. That does
We
play in.
literally just got done talking about how people react to trauma.
Yeah.
The fact that they spent 2.5 to 3 days in a supermarket with these fantastical events happening. They've witnessed things that they never ever thought they would see human eyes. They
Mhm.
witnessed the downfall of a small microcosm of humanity go to complete shit. They've watched people kill each other over lack of evidence of anything. They've watched people die at the hands of these monsters. He literally had to look his son in the eye and say, "Dad, please don't ever let the monsters get me." And he promised him he wouldn't.
Right.
That line stood out last night because obviously I know where it's going to go. "Dad, please don't ever let the monsters get me." Oh, I still at this point, even if my son was being attacked by monsters, I don't think I could ever pull a trigger. That's just me.
Right.
That's a whole other thing. Granted, I didn't just see my wife cocooned, feeling guilt about that because in one of the deleted scenes, he's like, "Why don't you come with us?" And she's like, "No, I'm going to clean the tree up. I'm going to get the windows done." We didn't see that part because that's the part that shows more of the wife. But he tried to convince her to come, and he basically like, "Are you sure?" Like he really tried to get her to go, and she wouldn't go. So there's that huge, heavy guilt. Like I left my wife there to die. They literally just got done seeing this 9-story creature walk over them.
And not notice them.
Not notice them, but they know that's what's in the world now. They've driven 2 hours, 2.5 hours. They've seen no break. They know what else is in there. They know how dangerous it is even to step outside the car. Granted,
And there's probably
I'm
tons of
not-
people like,
No,
what's her
the
name
world
around
is
too?
dangerous. The world's
Exactly.
a dangerous place, but I'm not killing my family.
again, I'm not going to argue what you're saying, but I understand it.
Yeah.
If all of you have gone through the trauma, you all had the understanding going into this. He basically said, it's like, I have 4 bullets. He made that clear when they got in, and everybody looked at each other and went, okay. And he said, I'll figure something out.
Yeah,
He made it clear that was the intention. We're going to drive as far as we can and see what happens. So that was the unspoken agreement before the car even got out of the parking lot.
But there are other cars along the way with gasoline and keys.
But we
that
don't
we
know how
see.
far they were by that.
Right.
We saw the school bus, and then they cut to fade. And then they saw the thing, and they cut to fade. We don't know how far back that was. That an hour back? Is
Right.
it 2 hours back? We
Yeah.
don't know.
I
He's
just
on a
wish he had
highway.
given us. I wish he had given us some immediate danger right before he pulled the trigger. And a monster in the car. I needed that.
But again, listening with headphones, it was literally all around. The car was the slithering, the chittering of the spiders. You heard it. That's what they heard. It's just a matter of time before something breaks the window.
Well,
and
that's
gets them.
when I
And
start
at
shooting.
that point, yeah, that's probably when I would do the same. I wouldn't do what he did, but I get it. And the fact that Stephen King, after he watched it, goes, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Where did you get this ending?" Like Stephen King didn't even know, and Darabont looks like, "Look, here's the book." It's like he basically wrote that line. There's 4 bullets in the gun. I guess I'll figure something else out. He literally read that line and took it as that. And King's like, "I didn't even mean it like that, but I love what you did." So I mean, this is the one movie that when I show people, it's like I don't ever need to see this movie again. That ending literally ruins the enjoyment I had from it, and they won't watch it again because the ending is such a horrible gut punch of just terrible.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And then as soon as he gets out, he's like, come on. It's like, and he tries, watching him still trying to put it in his mouth and find some relief to put himself out of the pain he's in. And then to see the fucking tank come out of the fog. Oh, it was just like, I'll never forget in the theater when I went and saw it. Everybody literally, I've never heard a gasp as loud as I did in that theater because it was packed. Because I mean, I went and saw this on opening night and all the geeks are there. And it was, because that wasn't the ending of the book.
Yeah.
It's like people shit.
I thought the acting job he did when he's pulling the trigger and it's empty, like squeezing off the rounds and nothing's coming out. I thought his acting there was very, very good.
Oh, and seeing Melissa McBride with her kids was just the total Totally
Awesome.
kicking
She's
the dick.
basically giving him the finger as she goes
Yeah.
by too. She's like,
Yeah.
"Mhm."
So she didn't go home and like stab her children because there was evil in the world. Thank God.
Yeah, just total kicking the dick at that point. It's like, oh my god, and just, but again, watching when the camera pulls back and you see like the spider eggs and the nests and like all that, they literally was surrounded by the creatures. They just couldn't
Yeah.
see them, so it was just
Yeah.
a matter of time. So again, I can understand it. Not what I would do, not the choices I would make, but I understand the way the story went and how it goes.
Yeah. I love the guts to have that ending. As the director, like you said, it could have been a super powerful ending that was like the end of Titanic. I just thought they missed the mark by not making us as the audience feel the desperation to get them out of their misery before the monster's killed. Like I think that would have really made this ending stick for me.
See, I just feel the weight of the hopelessness right after the music that was played. It's just this weight of sadness
That's how I feel
and
too. It's like
and
fuck.
hopelessness. There's nothing is going to save this world now.
It's
Doors
like
been
watching
opened.
someone kick a puppy for an hour. You're like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like you
10
can't.
seconds later, and then 10 seconds later, there's the cavalry.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
you should have
it's
just
just
held out. But that part is what got me. That was the kick in the gut for me. Is when you see the tank and you go, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, you fucking idiot!"
Oh, that's
2 more minutes.
again. Put it this way: if they cut it with him just outside screaming, come get me," and it cuts to black, would you have been happy with that ending?
Better for me. Better for me
Really?
because then yes,
Mhm.
only because then I'm not going, "Oh, you fuck 2 more minutes. 2 more if you would just held your child for 2
But
minutes."
that's the powerful. That's why this ending is so bleak as it is
No, you're
because
talking to
people
me.
have a knee jerk reaction to trauma. You
Right.
don't seek help. You don't call the 800 number. You don't call the prevention lines. You do what you think you need to do at this moment of complete hopelessness
We
to
think the
save
world is
yourself, to
ending.
save the
Yeah.
people.
So
And
if
so
he
you,
says kill me and it fades to black and I hear him screaming, then I believe that he made the right choice and it's a gut punch in a different way than the ending we got where the gut punch comes from, oh my god, if he had just held out 2 more minutes.
I feel it gives you so much more.
I feel like I'm in a marriage, like watching a marriage counseling. Like, well, I feel
It gives you so much more hurt. It's like this movie is not about monsters. This movie is about pain. This movie is about
Definitely.
faith. It's about trauma. It's about fear of the unknown and fear of the known. And the fact that you were literally, again, whereas Miss Carmody was going on the faith that her God was going to save them if they did these things, he was going on the faith that he's going to keep his family safe. And the
Yeah.
only way to do that, to save them from the monsters, is to kill them.
And
And
you know
then
what
to
I
kill
love?
himself.
The woman that actually took her kids safety first above everything and just got in her car and fucking went home is the only one that drives away with her family, which I thought
Yeah.
was pretty amazing. Mikki and Dylan, you guys, let's hear your thoughts on the end and you guys can duke it out like me and Tony just did.
I mean, I already made it known that I hated it. You know, like you, I feel like, just, like go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint and wait for this to all blow over. Like, let's not just like off our kids. Like,
And
just,
look what happened at the Winchester. They lost
I know.
half the crew and Ed died.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But still, just like I agree with Des that, if maybe you saw like a tentacle coming up on the window or something, like give me or one of those bugs hits the window. So
The window
this
cracks,
much.
the glass starts breaking.
That's it. And
There
then
it
he
is.
starts shooting. Okay, that's
Yes.
all I need. Like just a
Yeah.
little.
Like you
Just
hear
the
the muzzle
fact,
like, and then it passes and it's missed the car and then everything gets real quiet. He's like, everything's kind of quiet
Come on,
down. The
Mikki.
big monster.
Mikki, stand up for me here.
Mikki, go.
Well, and again, I said this too. Like I feel
How do
it's
you
like marriage
feel?
counseling. No, I do. I mean, I don't. Do I love the ending? No. Who's gonna love that ending? However, I think it's the perfect ending for the story that's been told because they think it's the end of the fucking world. They literally have just survived. Crazy lady in the grocery store, acid, web wielding spiders and giant insects and tentacled things, and now they're out and they oh my God, my wife is dead. She's been cocooned, and I have no wife, and now I have to try to find a safe space for my child. I have 4 bullets in this gun. There's 5 of us, and I'm driving by this bus full of dead cocooned kids, and I'm just seeing all this death and destruction, and there's just nothing. It's like a wasteland of nothing. And there's shit all around you. You can't see anything. You have no idea if there's anyone else even alive in the whole world. And then you run out of fucking gas.
Yeah.
That to me, that's why it was so powerful to me, because you're just, like Tony said, the utter hopelessness of the situation. Like, I have nothing fucking else. Like, I have nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Nothing else to offer.
why am I going to put my child possibly through the potential of being,
Rescued?
slowly killed by a creature? You know what I mean? I mean, to be honest with you, why would they have any hope? Why would he even have any inkling that they would be rescued at all? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't.
Because they're 2 miles from a military base?
And look what happened to the military that they had on site. Nothing.
Right.
So, and again, do I like the ending? No, but
you understand the ending.
I like it for what it was trying to accomplish with the story. It does feel like I got kicked in the teeth. You know what I mean? It's not a happy ending. And it's a gut punch, but I and again, with that, the host of Seraphim playing, like, that is so powerful. That music is so powerful for that scene. And it's, and then the mist clears and you see, and that you're like, oh, like, that's worse to me than everything else. Is like, just, like Des said, if you had just waited a couple more minutes. But that's why it's so haunting, and so I can't see another ending for this movie.
The end is a double-edged sword for me, because like I said, one, it's not your average trope ending to one of these movies where everybody survives and they get saved.
Right.
I appreciate that, and I also appreciate how powerful the tank coming through the mist is. Delyn, go.
I already went.
All right, let's do casting couch then. Let's recast this bitch, because I got a really good one, I think. So for the recasting couch, I am going to take out Thomas Jane, and I am going to replace him with one Mr. Denzel Washington, who plays these parts masterfully.
I like it. I like it. I can see
Denzel.
Yeah.
Me too.
Delyn, I know you have a great one.
I do. I would replace Marcia Gay Harden with Kathy Bates.
Tony, someone's sneaking up behind you, just so you know. I saw a figure behind you.
Yeah, she does that.
Okay, I saw a figure behind. I just thought you should know you were about to be stabbed.
It's a matter of time before that's an accurate statement. There's a reason I say I feel a lot.
It was funny. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh my God, someone's coming up behind Tony. All right, Mikki, who's your recasting couch?
So it was hard, but I think if I was going to recast anyone, I would stay in the Darabont universe and recast Thomas Jane with John Bernthal.
He's from The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay, I don't know him. Okay.
And he was also the Punisher. Yeah.
Which
Thomas Jane also did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, did that. That was good.
Who was the better Punisher?
Oh, Bernthal.
Okay. And Tony, who do you got for this?
I didn't think of this in time. It's terrible. I hate to say I always go, like, I want to stay in the same Darabont universe as well. But what I would probably switch out is, as much as I like William Sadler as the crazy local guy, he doesn't get enough roles. I don't even know if he's still alive. Is the guy from the Green Mile who doesn't wet the guy's head before he electrocutes him?
Oh, I hate him. Yes,
exactly.
Nice.
You hate him, so that's why when he turns,
I'm like mad now.
You're not gonna have any. You're not gonna have any pity when he turns, because you just hate him.
His name is Doug. His name is Doug something, and he married a 15-year-old.
Yeah, he has a really awful life. Anyway,
yeah,
that would be the only person I think. I mean, I love Marcia Gay Harden. She does nothing wrong. I mean, Thomas Jane is I hate to say, is the weakest link here, and I want someone more of an everyday man that could pull it off, because I don't think he was strong in that part of the role. Once he went action, that's Thomas Jane's wheelhouse. He's going to do it.
Right.
Right.
I just don't. I feel it's like Dusk Till Dawn. It's like you have two different movies, and as soon as it switches, it's like that's what it was here. So the Everyday Man thing didn't work. Once he went action, he was good for it. But
yeah, I thought he was just fine, but I thought a guy like Denzel that could really bring it in parts like this would have brought this thing to a whole new level. And then you foil him with Kathy Bates. Oh my God.
see, I don't know Kathy Bates. I'm
Oh,
not a
she's
fan.
great in that role. She's great in that role.
She's so good in Misery. So good
Yeah.
in Misery.
Well, that's why she's always going to be Annie Wilkes. I can't take even in Titanic. I kept waiting for her to pick up a sledgehammer.
Because
No,
It's like,
and
come
then
on,
about that.
but also
So-
she was so good in American Horror Story. She
Right,
was
but-
amazing in American Horror
Yeah.
Story.
You put that knife in Annie Wilkes' hand sitting in that chair, and I believe you're having trouble getting to the door.
Yeah. It's
You
a
know?
little thick there. Yeah.
So it's funny. This is why we do this podcast, because sometimes I'll come into one of these movies with like a preset idea of what I'm going to score it and how I perceived it when I watched it. And then we talk through it and it either goes to the right or it goes to the left. Like last week, we did the original Lethal Weapon, and I had a higher score going in. And then we talked to the movie and I was like, there were some holes in that plot, and it kind of sunk my score a little bit. And today, talking through this movie made me appreciate a lot of it that I didn't really appreciate or even see from a storytelling point of view and a character building point of view that you guys kind of like brought to my attention, which is why we do this. So let me give you my final thoughts. It did feel a little bit like a made for TV miniseries, which isn't bad. I like a lot of these miniseries that came out in the 80s, and it had a very nostalgic feeling for me. So that was kind of comforting. I thought there was great character building. I thought there was great monsters that were a lot of fun. It had the really interesting offbeat ending that was fine. I feel like that they had just cut some of the expedition down, just a little of it, some of the whispering stuff that didn't really lend itself to the storytelling. It wasn't necessary to be as long as it was, and just condense this thing down, maybe cut it down by 20 minutes. I think that there's a very strong movie here. I came in thinking it was maybe like a 1 rewatch, but after talking through it with you guys, I'm going to bring that up to like a 2.75. One, it's Stephen King, so he gets a point just because it's Stephen King. And then for all the reasons we touched on, I think that it's because you figure 5 is perfect. So 2.75, it's better than average for me. It's a good movie. It's not bad. If you haven't seen The Mist and you like Stephen King, yeah, go see it. It's pretty good. So, Delynn, go ahead.
Oh no, don't come to me next.
Okay.
Tony, give us your score.
Okay.
I feel this is a movie that I feel.
I
Are you
feel.
sure?
I feel that this is the kind of movie, if you watch it, just different stages of your life. And if you watch it, if you've been through some shit, you're going to see this movie in a completely different light than some 25-year-old watching it for the first time. If you have a family, you're going to watch it in a whole different level. If you have kids, again, a whole different thing. So when I first saw it, I loved it. Great monster movie, great drama, great acting, all the things I geek over. Watching it as a dad, it's a terrifying movie. And not because of the monsters, but it's because of what's out there. What is walking the streets in my supermarket that can talk to my kid. Completely polarizing ending that divides people every time this movie comes up. No one talks about the monsters. No one talks about the acting. It's all, oh my God, that ending. That will always be the first thing that comes out when you say The Mist. It's not a movie I could watch a lot. It's not something. I'm sure if I watched it more often, I would be able to pick the shit out of it between the acting and the monsters, etc. So I'll give it an even 4 because
All right.
the story writing, the storytelling, and the acting and the way it's shot. And I mean, Darabont is just he's a great director. So I'll stop talking.
I also wish they had put some more music and sound effects in it. That would be my other addition. It didn't have to be smothered with it, but it needed a little more just for building suspense and bringing me back down, and also some melancholy music to make the softer moments hit a little bit harder. So yeah, Mikki.
So I mean, I know I've talked about this before. I love what this movie tried and to me succeeded in doing was showing you how fucking scary people get when shit hits the fan. Like how quickly people turn, how fast they are to judge, and to kind of, you know, take sides. And it's really scary. And unfortunately, I feel like it's, you know, I feel like it's almost like I don't know the word. Like it happens every day, and I feel like it's happening more and more.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And so, but I think you know, Marcia Gay Harden, she did so good. She did so good in that role. Like Thomas Jane, yeah. I mean, I like Thomas Jane, but I think you're right. He's a better action guy. But I think, you know, for me, it's a 3.75 rewatch.
Cool.
All right. So, I already mentioned all of these things. I didn't like the lack of music. The fade to black is not my favorite thing. It feels kind of clunky. And all the whispering, it was really kind of a bummer for me because I just really had a hard time following where the conversation was going. I mean, I got the general idea, but I wasn't picking up those nuances that I really appreciate, especially when you're getting into Stephen King writing, you know, like, and granted, Frank Darabont took Stephen King's ideas and changed them a little bit, but the source material is Stephen King and he writes beautifully. So I would have liked to have heard it a little better. That being said, I'm still going to give it a 3 because there was a lot to like here. You know, like I thought that the characters were still pretty neat. And like you said, it's that cool thing where you see just how ugly humanity can be, especially in the face of any kind of adversity. You know, you turn the lights off for 10 minutes and people are ready to kill each other. It's Lord of the Flies, you know?
Yes.
So,
That's the charm. That's the charm of this movie. 100%.
You know, so I have to give, and you know, Marcia Gay Harden did a fantastic job. I really liked Ollie. So, I mean, there was a lot to like here, even if there were things that I didn't like. And so that's why I'm going right down the middle of the road with a 3.
I love the Lord of the Flies comparison. Very cool.
I mean, that's essentially what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if we divide by 4, that gives this movie a score of 3.375.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see where that lands it on the list. I will tell you. It is our ranking list says 3.375. That puts it, I'm sorry, 3.375. It puts it right under Kingpin and right above Halloween.
In what spot?
It's at number 23.
So it's right in the middle of our, because we've got about 50 now. So, and what are the two it's in front of and behind?
Kingpin and Halloween.
Kingpin is right above it, and Halloween is right under it with a 3.33333.
So, Tony, this is perfect for having you on the show. Is this better than Halloween? Because I'm going to say myself, no fucking way. All right, hang on, Dylan. All right. Fuck, now I wish I had gone a little lower because this is not better than Halloween.
We only had 3 of us on for Halloween.
You're right.
True. Yeah, but I'm dividing by 4 because I take the numbers, I add it all together and divide it by 4. When there's 3 of us, I take.
What were the numbers for Halloween? Because I know I gave it at least a 4.5.
I couldn't tell you what the individual numbers are. I just added everything together and divided by 3.
I demand a recount.
My original score was going to be like a 2 or a 2.25. If I come in there, would Halloween be ahead? We can't change it now. It is what it is.
No, it is what it is.
Fuck.
It is what it is.
But it is. But I do think Kingpin is better. So I think that it falls there is fine. But
I disagree, but you know.
Yeah, you know what?
Completely disagree.
I know Kingpin was a little disappointing when I went back and watched it, but I do love Big Al McCracken. All right, so I think we did
Lord of the Flies, by the way. Quick aside: have any of you watched Yellow Jackets?
No, it's on my list, and I'm so getting ready to watch it.
So good.
I'm gonna watch
Tony,
it.
Did you watch Black Summer?
No.
Oh, it was so
good. I wrote it down when you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, I binge watched it in one after Mikki told me the whole thing.
Did you watch the second season too?
It was sucked. No, I didn't suck. It wasn't that. So I started watching the first episode, and I'm like, this isn't what I was just watching for 5 hours straight, and I didn't continue watching.
Oh, so you should.
Okay, I'll go back into it. So next week I want to say that Dylan is going to be joining our sister podcast, Breaking Vinyl,
It's this
sitting
week.
in. This week, yes. She will be sitting in with us doing Depeche Mode's Violator album. So she will be popping her Breaking Vinyl cherry. So yes.
Jesus Christ.
So next week on this show, though, we will be doing Dazed and Confused with
No.
Mikki.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Strange Days.
Oh,
Strange Days.
Oh, okay. Yes, we'll be doing Strange Days. I wish we were doing Dazed and Confused, but we'll be doing Strange Days.
Des is dazed and confused.
Daily.
Yes, I have seen this movie one time, and I don't remember what I thought of it. I thought it was a cool concept. As always, I love watching movies from opposite ends of the house with you, Lynn, but we did break the rule and watch this movie together. And as always, it was a little strange. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, well, I mean, you slept through half of it, so you know.
Yeah. And you took pictures of me.
I did take pictures.
But I want to tell the audience I fell asleep at two different parts the two times I watched it. So I did watch the movie all together. And I fell asleep during a whisper both times. Delaney, tell
there was
us where we
no
can find it.
naked flying whirlybirds for this one.
No. But I can send out pictures if you guys like.
Oh,
Delaney,
no.
where can they find the podcast?
All right. So you can find the podcast on Facebook at Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie? You can find us on Instagram at Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie? We're on Twitter at Hey, Did You Ever? And if you want to email us, we are at Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie at gmail.com. You can comment on our Spotify. Like there's a whole bunch of places you can get in contact with us if you'd like to.
Awesome. And Tony, how much better is Halloween than this movie? Like, are we close? Are we in the ballpark, or is that a travesty?
It's not a travesty, but
Okay.
Halloween started. It's a different sport. It's not even a different ballpark. It's a different sport.
It is. It's a different sport. I wish Halloween was ahead of it, but those are the ropes.
Yeah,
all right,
happens.
guys. So until next week, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you later.
Bye.